You are listening to the Caleb Turner Talk Show on the Anchor Radio Network. And now your host, Caleb Turner.
Good evening, everybody listening across the nation, and across the continent, and across the world. This is the Caleb Turner Talk Show on the Anchor Radio Network, March 16, 2013 edition. St. Patrick's Day weekend here live from our downtown Coquitlam, British Columbia studios here in downtown Coquitlam, just outside of the Coquitlam Town Center Mall on Hornby Street here in the downtown suburbs of Coquitlam, BC. Great show planned for you today. We're going to talk about the NCAA with mini conference championship games that have been going on in the weekend. The wrap-up of several championship games, we'll talk to you about that. Louisville's going to move on, and why I think Louisville will be number 2 in the nation. And then we're going to get into the NBA and the NFL. A lot of free agent signings in the past week, especially for my Seattle Seahawks. We'll get into that. And of course, the NHL with my Vancouver Canucks. Good week for them so far. Right now, they're playing the Wings. And then to wrap up the day, a little MLB. The Caleb Turner Talk Show on the Anchor Network rolls on after these messages.
The Vancouver Canucks play the Minnesota Wild live Monday night, 7 o'clock, live from Rogers Arena. The call can be heard right here on the Anchor Radio Network, live Monday night, 7 o'clock. You are listening to a presentation of the Caleb Turner Talk Show on the Anchor Radio Network. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And now, your host, Caleb Turner.
The madness has officially begun. Not quite, but sort of. I mean, for all intensive purposes, March Madness has begun. Bob, I felt like you should have played CBS's music for the NCAA March Madness. It'd have been kind of cool to have their CBS theme music. It would have been kind of neat. Like we said, the NCAA March Madness, basically your seeding gets determined with this weekend. The weekend that we are in right now. With all the conference titles on the line, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, the Mountain West, the A10, the Central USA, and the Pac-12, Pac-10. Same thing. But all the main conferences, the MAC, the WAC, anything else that there is that I might be forgetting, those are just the main ones. But the Michigan Wolverines are not in the semifinals in the Big Ten. They didn't even, and it's really sad. They lost to Wisconsin, but Indiana isn't in the finals of the Big Ten. Can you believe it? The Duke Blue Devils aren't in the ACC title game. The Georgetown Hoyas weren't in the the Big East title game. Michigan State was not in the Big Ten title game, which will be played tomorrow. But they couldn't get past Ohio State. What happened to all the top-ranked teams? Gonzaga, number 1, won their conference. No sweat, no problems. They didn't really play any good teams probably this year, but, you know, they played number 13 Butler. And that was back when they were 13. They ain't 13 no more. They're unranked. They lost today to St. Louis, the A10 semifinal game. St. Louis will play VCU tomorrow for the A10 championship. The Atlantic 10. Duke, Indiana, Georgetown, Michigan, Michigan State, all lose members of the top 10 in the NCAA rankings coming into today. The Louisville Cardinals come back down by 12 in the second, going to the second half over the Syracuse Orange, upsetting Syracuse to win the Big East. So Louisville will most definitely jump into the number 2 seed in the nation You'll see Kansas probably in 3, and Miami, depending on the outcome of tomorrow's ACC title game. Which tomorrow, who does Miami play? Miami plays whoever beat Georgetown. Is it Maryland? Is it Maryland who plays Miami tomorrow for the ACC title game? Well, good luck with that one, Maryland. Whoever's playing Miami, good luck. Because you're going to need a lot of it. But we don't believe in luck. We believe in the Holy Spirit working. But anyways, so in the top 5, you have 2 of the teams that win their conferences. That win their games so far. Louisville's position is going to change. It could change. If they lose the title tomorrow, they'll probably drop down to 7th or 8th. Michigan probably will drop out of the top 10. Can't imagine Indiana, and I can't imagine Duke will be in the top 10. I mean, maybe 8 or 9. You got Florida that win the SEC. Did they win the SEC? No, they go to the SEC championship game tomorrow. Florida won their game today, though. They're in the SEC title game tomorrow. No sweat there. New Mexico wins their championship. The Mountain West, the MAC. So New Mexico probably, maybe jumps into the top 10. Maybe. So that's of note. The games of note today, the Big 12 championship game. Kansas knocking off their rivals, Kansas State, 70-54. Kansas will obviously jump in, I say, the number 2 seed in the nation. I guess it depends on tomorrow's Big East final between Louisville and whoever they play. Michigan, Georgetown, Indiana, Duke all lose. They are not in their championship games. I think that's really, really sad. Especially Indiana. They were the number 1 seed for the longest period of time. Now Gonzaga's got the number 1 seed. Illegitimately in my eyes. I know they're a good team, but they haven't played anybody yet. Until they play an elite team like Michigan, like Kansas, like Georgetown. And it's funny, I'm saying all those teams lost. But like has been pointed out for the past couple of weeks, Michigan is underachieving. Michigan is a good team. They have an incredible starting 5. In fact, they probably have one of the best talent-wise starting 5s in the nation. But they haven't been able to get it all together yet. They were the number 1 seed momentarily for 1 week, and then just exploded. That was it. And, of course, Indiana took over. Duke had a little run there. And then, of course, Gonzaga's got it now. Teams that I think are going to jump up with their wins, Florida, Ohio State, and New Mexico. You got Ohio State and Wisconsin for the Big Ten title. Who projected that? Ohio State's ranked 10th in the nation. In front of them from the Big Ten, Indiana, Michigan, Michigan State. But who projected Wisconsin? Wisconsin had no chance coming into this. No hope. Wisconsin, 22nd in the nation, coming into the Big Ten game today against Indiana. They beat them by 12. They beat Indiana by double digits. I know it was garbage time where they got those last baskets and stuff, and the free throws and stuff like that. But still, they beat them by double digits. That's pretty big, beating the number 3 seed in the nation. Double digits. And, of course, the Pac-10 championship game tonight, Oregon, UCLA, number 21 in the nation, UCLA. I highly doubt Oregon wins, but, I've been proven wrong. That game will be starting at 8 o'clock, which tip-off should be going on right now, as we speak. But my teams to look out for going into March Madness, which begins, it will have already begun by next Saturday's broadcast. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of NCAA to talk about come next Saturday. Who all won the conference championships from tomorrow's games, the Big Ten, the ACC, the SEC, the A10. Memphis wins the Central USA Championship, beating Southern Miss in double overtime 91-79. So credit Southern Miss for pushing Memphis to double OT. It's pretty good. And of course, whoever wins the Pac-10 championship tonight, Pac-12, Pac-10, same thing, pretty much. They're all 10 or 12, so. Then you got the ACC and the SEC who don't have any numbers. Big East. let's just say it's going to be pretty maddening this year, considering all the upsets that have taken place. Look at all the number 1 seeds that got knocked down, or the number 2 seeds, or the number 3. Look at Duke and Indiana, Georgetown and Michigan. 2, 3, 5, and 6 are not in their conference title games. We got a problem with this. You know, credit all the underdogs and the Cinderella stories, but, I mean, where are the good teams when they really need to be good? It's like the Vancouver Canucks. For some reason, they can beat all the good teams, but when they need to win the games that they need to win, they lose. Look at Duke. They lost to unranked Maryland. That's sorry and sad. Indiana losing to a number 22 seed with Wisconsin. Sad. Michigan loses to Wisconsin, number 22 seed. That's sad. So, you know, whatever. It's the way it goes. Let's just say picking your bracket this year, you know, I mean, it's going to be tough to pick it. I mean, you're going to... it's going to be impossible to have a perfect bracket this year. It will be. You'll have to be absolutely genius. You'll have to have a lot of luck, or I should say the Holy Spirit working for you. It's just going to be absolutely maddening. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to watching games in between school breaks. I love that. Thursday morning and Friday morning especially, because after that the games are later on in the afternoons. By the end of next Sunday night, there will only be 16 teams left in the nation for the NCAA Road to the Final Four March Madness. Good luck with your brackets! Even though I don't believe in luck, it's going to be crazy. It definitely will be crazy. Coming up next, we have the NBA and the NFL. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial, or I should say, don't touch that mouse, because we aren't technically on the radio, but hey, you gotta believe in something. Come on, you gotta believe in something. The Caleb Turner Talks on the Anchor Network rolls on after these messages.
March Madness officially gets underway Thursday, but the selection show is tomorrow. Catch all the selections at the CBC Selection Show right here on the Anchor Network. We'll have the full play-by-play of the selection show. And then, of course, the action heats up Thursday. But if you want to catch in the play-in games on Tuesday, join us right here. The Anchor Radio Network has all your coverage right here on the Anchor Radio Network. You are listening to the Caleb Turner Talk Show on the Anchor Radio Network. And now your host, Caleb Turner.
We're back live at the Caleb Turner Talk Show on the Anchor Radio Network. A little bit of bluegrass there going on in the background. March 16, 2013, St. Patrick's Day weekend. The Los Angeles Lakers went from being the best team with the best chances to the best team with the worst chances. Losing to the Atlanta Hawks. Tough loss. It was even worse with what happened at the end of the game there, with Kobe going up to try to tie the game, but came down on Dokan Jones. Whatever his name was. Jones. His last name was Jones. Coming down and rolling his ankle, spraining it. Played 12 minutes in the game against Charlotte. Lost. They won, but he lost. He went out. So doubtful on Kobe Bryant coming back, the Lakers are. And yet, they're now 3 games above 500 and have a game on the Utah Jazz for 8th place in the West. 1.5 back of Houston. So the Lakers have got to work hard. They've got an uphill climb. We don't know if Kobe's going to be back, but he might. Knowing Kobe, I don't think he's going to miss out on anything. He guaranteed they're going to make the playoffs, so I highly doubt Kobe Bryant will not play again. He will. He's not done yet. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays tomorrow against the Kings. But the San Antonio Spurs, the Miami Heat, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have all clinched playoff spots. San Antonio Spurs 50-16, the Miami Heat 50-14, and they have a 21-game win streak going on right now. I think the last time they lost, they were 29-14. 28-14. That's pretty crazy. 28-14, only 14 games above 500. Now they're 36 games above 500. Pretty crazy. Dangerous teams in the East. Look out for the Indiana Pacers. They have their division not locked up. Second in their division. 40-25. They're second in the East. But it's so funny because the West has 5 teams over 40 wins. 40 or more. The East only has 2. The West is so much better than the East, but yet the East has the best team in the league, which is amazing. Right now, the Los Angeles Lakers, if they were in the East, they would have the same amount of wins as the Boston Celtics. They'd only be 1 behind the 5th ranked and 3 wins behind Brooklyn. Instead, they're 1 win behind Houston for 7th, 2 wins behind Golden State for 6th. 5th place, they're 10 wins behind. Same for 4th. That's just nuts. How does that happen? And boy, I tell you, the Memphis Grizzlies are definitely for real. And how about that division? Memphis, LA, Golden State, and the other LA, all in the playoffs. How did that happen? Like, where along the lines did that happen? Nuts. Absolutely nuts. The Brooklyn Nets over in the East, right there with New York. Very, very close. Battle right there. The Bulls in 5th with a 36-29 record. Atlanta Hawks, 36-29 in 6th. Boston in 7th with a 35-29 in Milwaukee, 32-32 in 8th. Toronto is 7 games back. It would take an absolutely incredible miracle for the Raps to make the playoffs. Good year for the Raps. 1 back are the Jazz in the West. 3 back are the Mavs in 10th. So the Mavs are going to have an uphill climb, especially if LA has Stevie Blake doing what he did against Charlotte. Or was it New Orleans? I keep getting all these games confused. I've been watching so much NBA the last week. But how about Kobe Bryant? Crazy games, though, against Toronto, New Orleans. Just unbelievable. 40-plus points. And that's why he's 3rd in the NBA in points per game. Durant with 28.3, Carmelo with 27.5, Kobe 27.1 a game, LeBron 26.6, and James Harden 26.4. Only 0.2 back LeBron. Houston looks good, let's just say that. Right off the playoffs started today, San Antonio would be playing LA. Good luck with that one, San Antonio, especially if Kobe is healthy. If Kobe's healthy, no team wants to play Los Angeles in the playoffs. Absolutely no team. OKC would be playing Houston. What a fun series that would be. James Harden against his former team. You'd have Jalen in the playoffs as well. Look out for the Warriors. Memphis and Golden State at the playoffs today. And the Clips and the New Gays 4th and 5th. In the East, you'd have Miami and Milwaukee. And no problem for Miami in that one. Indiana and Boston. That'd be a nice series. New York and Atlanta, that's the Knicks and the Hawks. Brooklyn and Chicago. Wow. Still a lot to be decided, though, in the West with placement, and obviously in the East with placement. But all those teams that you see in the East, all 8 of those teams will make the playoffs. Which ones and what places will they be? That is the question. And we're going to find out, obviously, later on with the season. The NFL, a lot of free agent signings. I think the biggest signing, though, of the NFL free agency goes to the Wes Welker signing, going to the Denver Broncos, just absolutely stacking the Denver Broncos, is John Elway. Brings in Peyton Manning last year. They have a pretty good season. Pretty bad loss, though, to Baltimore there. First playoff game for Manning in quite a while. But high expectations last year. They're going to have obviously high expectations this year. And they just add another gun to their lineup. Another gun into the mini arsenals that Peyton Manning has. He's responsible for the ammo, and as long as his wide receivers, the guns, go out there and shoot up the opponents, should be pretty good for the Broncos next season. My Seattle Seahawks, though, picking up Bennett, a defensive end, Averill, another defensive end, and, of course, their big signing, Percy Harvin from Minnesota, goes to the Seattle Seahawks. Adrian Peterson felt like he had been kicked in the gut repeated times, is what he said on Twitter, after his really good friend, buddy, Percy Harvin went to Seattle. And the Seattle Seahawks are the team with the highest expectations going into next season. They are tied for the highest odds to win the Super Bowl next year. And Russell Wilson is looking to lead his team to victory. And the funny thing is, this is the funny thing. We'll get to the other signings in just a second. The Seattle Seahawks going into the last season had no expectations. 8-8, 7-9 at best. They go out there and they get a 11-5 record. They get so close to the division winner. Just came up short. They go out into the playoffs, win their first game against the Washington Redskins with kind of a half-hearted RG3 with the injury, but they beat them nonetheless. They should have beat Atlanta. They got robbed, 31 seconds. They robbed themselves, honestly. They robbed themselves of a berth to the NFC title game, and I guarantee you they could have taken San Francisco because they matched up. They were the team that matched up perfectly against the Niners. Perfectly. They matched up much better than Green Bay did. But that's just my thoughts. My thoughts. Whenever we talk about the NFL, it's the My Thoughts segment. Boy, I tell you, we're going to have to get in Phil Davis, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, because the Steelers just got basically they basically lost everybody. I mean, they went from being a decent team to next year, they're going to be nobody. Harrison, Mendenhall, Starks, Wallace, all gone. Every last one of them. Mike Wallace goes to Miami. Shard Mendenhall, he went to KC, Atlanta. I know Jackson went to Atlanta. Steven Jackson, running back of the St. Louis. And that's another thing. The Rams lost one of their prime targets after everybody said the Rams were going to be the team to beat this year in the NFC. Bennett goes to Seattle. We said Aquan Bolden. Can you believe that? Aquan Bolden is going to San Francisco, the team that he beat in the Super Bowl. He's leaving his Super Bowl team to go play for the Niners. Colin Kaepernick says, we have tons of guns. We'll add them into the mini arsenals that we have as well. Boy, I tell you, the Seahawks and the Niners are going to be rivals for the next 10 years. Kaepernick, Wilson, it is going to be incredible. When we come back, though, we're going to get into the NHL. My Vancouver Canucks, with a pretty good week that they've had so far, playing the Wings tonight, Vancouver Millionaires Retro Night at Rogers Arena. More with the NHL when we come back. It's next. The Caleb Turner Talk Show, the Anchor Radio Network, rolls on after these messages.
You are listening to the Caleb Turner Talk Show on the Anchor Radio Network. And now your host, Caleb Turner.
10 till 9 on the Caleb Turner Talk Show, the Anchor Radio Network. Couple more segments here before we wrap up St. Patrick's Day weekend's broadcast. The 16th of March, the year 2013 AD. AD 2013 if we're going to be technical. Because it's 2013 BC, it's AD 2013. The AD goes in front, ahead, AD ahead. Anyways. The history lesson. Slight history lesson. The Vancouver Canucks, 2 wins this past week. 1 loss, that was on Sunday, a 4-2, pretty pathetic game against Calgary. Wasn't their fault, though. The refs lost that game. Still pathetic, though. But they break a streak that needed to be broken against Columbus. Was it 5 straight losses? Just absolutely pathetic. And they win in a shootout against CLBJ 2-1. It's about time. It's about time the Canucks win in a shootout. It was about time the Canucks win Period. And then, of course, on Thursday, the 7-4 shellacking of the Predators, in which they chased Pekka Rinne, which I think is kind of cool. And, of course, Henrik Sedin's pretty wicked penalty shot goal. It's pretty nice. And I liked what happened there after he scored. Lots of smiles on the bench, and Alain Vigneault looks down at him like, yeah, and Hanks looks back at him like, so are you going to remember me now when we have a next shootout? Vigneault kicks him in the butt. That was pretty funny. And they shared a laugh there on the bench. Courtesy of Sportsnet Pacific, if you saw that game. No, it was not on Sportsnet Pacific. My error. TSN, I'm sorry, that was a nationally televised game. And of course, tonight's nationally televised with CBC on Retro Night. Vancouver Canucks down by 1 going to the third period against the Red Wings, but wasn't the only game of note today. There's a lot of NHL games today. Of course, the Northwest Division game, the Wild beating the Avalanche 6-4. The Lightning beating their division rivals, the Carolina Hurricanes 4-1. That's big. If the Lightning are going to make the playoffs, they're going to have to win their division. And the Hurricanes are the closest threat to that. And then you got the Senators winning in overtime 4-3. Kyle Turris goal. Bruins beat the Washington Capitals 4-1. The Pens beat the Rangers 3-0. Of course, Chicago shellacks Dallas 8-1. It was in Dallas, but it was actually in Chicago. If you guys saw the highlights or watched the game, the Blackhawk fans, Blackhawk Nation, the tribe, the Indian Territory, as they say, they were in full force in Dallas at the American Airlines Center, taking in the Hawks' big win over the Dallas Stars 8-1, and Patrick Kane with an absolutely sick goal. Spinorama, backhand, short side, top shelf. Come on. Patty Kane is one of the best players in the NHL. He's got the softest hands. He's got some wicked hands. And he can dazzle and deke and just make some sick moves. And of course we saw the crazy goal by Pavel Datsyuk last night, the overtime winner against Edmonton. That was pretty classy too. And of course tonight he's played pretty good against the Vancouver Canucks. Goal and an assist for the Pavel Datsyuk one. No, he does not have a goal. 2 assists. That was Abdelkader's goal there, the first one off of Abdelkader's skate, but Datsyuk banked it in off of the skate. It was a pretty classy goal. So in the standings, point-wise, the Blackhawks first. Anaheim is creeping up behind them, though. They are now... They won today. No, they lost. They lost in overtime. 43 points down the season. Are they 5 back now? Yeah, 5 back. 5 back of the Blackhawks. The Vancouver Canucks, 32 points, 3rd. St. Louis, 32 points, 4th. Minnesota, 32. Right now in a tie for Vancouver, but Vancouver is the tie break. But if Vancouver loses, Minnesota jumps into the Northwest Division. Detroit in 6th with 31 points. LA in 7th with 30. San Jose in 8th with 30. Phoenix in 9th with 29. Nashville in 10th with 28. Dallas in 11th with 27. Calgary in 12th with 26. Edmonton in 13th with 26. 4 points separate 8th from 13th. And if you're going to be really, really real, from 3rd to 13th, 6 points. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy how close it is this year. In the West, and of course the East, you got Pittsburgh with 42, Boston with 41, Carolina with 31, Montreal with 40, Ottawa with 34, New Jersey 32, Toronto with 31, Winnipeg with 30. But that all gets updated. Toronto has now 32, Winnipeg has 32. And I believe Winnipeg has the tie break, do they? So Winnipeg jumps into 7th, Toronto goes into 8th. So you got Winnipeg, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal all in the playoffs if it started today. You got 4 Canadian teams there and 1 in the West. You'd have Montreal and Ottawa playing each other, 4 and 5. I really, really hope Montreal can jump ahead into Boston, and maybe Toronto can leapfrog New Jersey. So then you have Montreal playing New Jersey, and instead it would be Toronto playing Carolina. And then you would have Ottawa playing Boston. So you'd have no Canadian teams playing each other. It would be really, really bad if 2 Canadian teams played each other in the East, or if we had 4 matches with Canadian teams. Right now, you only have the 4 and the 5 playing each other, Montreal and Ottawa. But potentially, you could have All 4 Canadian teams playing each other, and in that first round only having 2 survive from the East. The stats right now, Sidney Crosby, 47 points, an 8-point lead on his teammate Chris Kunitz, Stamkos with 38, St. Louis with 36, and Stahl with 32. Is that Stahl? Yeah, that's Stahl. Can't read my writing. Stamkos with 20 goals on the year, Chris Kunitz with 18, John Tavares with 17, James Neal with 17, and Jeff Carter. What am I thinking? Jason Carter. Wow. That's a combination of Anson Carter, Vince Carter, Jeff Carter, and any other Carters that are in the sports world. Jeff Carter with 17 goals. CLBJ. The Vancouver Canucks stats are as follows. Hank Sedin, 7 goals, 19 assists, 26 points, 48 shots on goal. All this changes tonight. Alex Burrows scored 6 seconds in, set a new franchise record for fastest goal scored in a game tonight. 6 seconds in. Previous record was 9 by Trevor Linden against Anaheim back in '94. So they break that record, but Alex Burrows was buzzing there in that first period. Pretty good first period for the Canucks. Come away tied, which is unfortunate, and then Detroit gets another pretty classy goal by Pavel Datsyuk, passing it in front to Hank Zetterberg. Zetterberg takes the lead 2-1 for the Wings, and that's where they stand at the end of 2. But Danielson, 8 goals, 15 assists, team leader in goals. And they got Hank and Jannik Hansen, close second with 7. Raymond also with 7. Higgins with 7. Jannik Hansen, 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points. Third on the team in points. That's pretty good. Also with 58 shots on goal. That changes after tonight. Ham Hughes, 2 goals, 12 assists, 14 points, 38 shots on goal. Burrows with 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 points. He's got 6 goals now in the year, and he's got way over 90 shots on goal. He could crack 100 shots on goal. He could crack 100 shots on goal tonight. He would need 11, but it is possible. Who knows? Anything's possible with Alex Burrows. I mean, come on. Mason Raymond, 7-7 and 14. Alex Eller, 5-9, 14. Burrows, 5-9, 14. That now changed, obviously. Chris Higgins, 7 goals, 4 assists, 11 points. He's really been picking it up. Speed, guts, glory. Cassian, 5 goals, 3 assists. And again, I say it. Cassian was the 1 week wonder. 10 games, 5 goals. Said nothing since then. And he was out tonight. Back spasms. Sestito. Tom Sestito jumped in for him. Kevin Bieksa, 5 goals, 1 assist, 6 points. Jumping in, second game back tonight. First game back was against the Nashville Predators. Pretty bad game for him, though, last game. He's having a better game tonight. Max Lapierre, 2 goals, 4 assists. He had an assist and a goal in the last game. Jason Garrison, 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points. And those are your point leaders. The Vancouver Canucks playing the Detroit Red Wings tonight. They play Minnesota on Monday. Big divisional game that will be against the Wild of Minnesota. It's going to be crazy. Monday night, Northwest Division, especially if the Canucks lose tonight, which we're not going to think that way, but if they lose tonight, Minnesota will have the lead in the Northwest Division come Monday night. When we come back, we're going to talk, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the MLB, one last segment. We're going to pause for station identification. You got it on the Anchor Radio Network, the Caleb Turner Talk Show. One last segment left, a little bit of MLB talk. Pause 10 seconds for station identification on the Anchor Radio Network.
The Anchor Radio Network heard worldwide in over 30 countries and, of course, nationwide here in Canada. You're listening to the Caleb Turner Talk Show on the Anchor Radio Network.
And we're back on the Caleb Turner Talk Show, the Anchor Radio Network. I want to wrap up March 16, 2013, the last segment here with a little bit of MLB, because I want to go downstairs here in our studio and watch the rest of the game with the rest of the crew working behind the scenes. I'm sure that they have a TV set up wherever they're at listening to the broadcast. But I want to see the rest of the Canucks and Red Wings game tonight. MLB Cactus League. These are some shocking standings for you. This is the top 3 teams of the 2 divisions. The Kansas City Royals are 16-4, best in the MLB in the preseason. Who saw that? The Seattle Mariners, hello. My favorite team in the MLB, second in the league with a 14-7 record. And the Cleveland Indians, 12-8. Is that the 4th best record in the MLB? They're third in the Cactus League. The Grapefruit League, the Baltimore Orioles 12-5, Detroit 13-8, Tampa Bay 13-8 as well. But how about my Mariners? They get Felix Hernandez locked up long term. They get all their decent players back that they'll get back next year. They should have a pretty good team. How about the Toronto Blue Jays, second to last in their division? The Yankees are last in their division. I believe they're both in the Cactus League. Maybe in the Grapefruit. Whatever the league they're in, Cactus or Grapefruit. Preseason did not look very good for the two decent teams, I guess we should say. Of course, the Yankees are Jeterless. Derek Jeter's not in the lineup. But how about those Blue Jays? They're supposed to be good. Of course, a lot of their players are playing in the World Baseball Classic. Jose Reyes. Brett Laurie was with Team Canada. R.A. Dickey was with the USA. J.P. Arencibia was with the USA. So, I guess they didn't have very many of their players in the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Netherlands, and Japan playing for the World Baseball Classic. The Final Four teams, Puerto Rico and Japan, Dominican Republic, and the Netherlands. AT&T Park in San Francisco, California. USA got eliminated by Puerto Rico. It's pretty sad, though. America's sport, and they aren't even good at it. They're basically, America's sport is the NFL, and America's team is the Dallas Cowboys. But America's sport technically is the MLB. It's baseball. But all the good players now in the MLB are from other countries. That's pretty sad. Some of the best players are in Japan, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, all these teams that are, pretty good teams. How are the Netherlands in the semifinals? Who do they have? We gotta find out who they have. But not on today's show. We'll wrap this thing up here. Final couple minutes. Caleb Turner Talk Show, Anchor Radio Network. I'd like to thank everybody working behind the scenes here on the Anchor Radio Network. Here in Studio 45. Different studio tonight than some of the most ones. We had to bump out of here because we had a rat infestation in Studio 41. Yeah. Should have seen it earlier today. Bob was running around with his net. It was weird. It was kind of funny. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. I'm not a St. Patrick's Day believer, but I'll be wearing green tomorrow in church. I'm a Canucks fan, so I gotta wear my green to church. No, that's for St. Patrick's Day. And speaking of green, the Burnaby Mountain Lions, their color's green, and they went to the provincial championship. The boys, BC boys, AAA boys championship game, the provincials. Burnaby Mountain was not in the championship game, but the provincials were going on this past week at the Langley Event Center out in Langley, British Columbia. I like saying Langley. The Langley Event Center in Langley, British Columbia. Lost the game today for 10th place. It's unfortunate. But they achieved their expectations and they went way higher. Nobody thought they could win their district, and they won their district. They finished 4th, I believe, in their regionals, which got them to the provincials. Finished 10th in the provincials, so not too bad for the Burnaby Mountain Lions. It's my favorite high school. Public high school. It's my favorite public high school here in BC. The Canucks play the Wild Monday. Hope you all join us. The Anchor Radio Network will have the full broadcast. That should be a really, really good game. Everybody thinks tonight's a good game. Yes, it is, of course. Whenever the Wings are in town, the Canucks and the Wings have an incredible game. Incredible game. The Wings and the Canucks. All the time. Except for the last game in Detroit, which was an 8-3 shellacking on Luongo. Luongo got the start tonight, and he's done okay. Couple bad bounces, and a really, really nice play by Pavel Datsyuk has them down 2-1. So it's not really Luongo's fault. And, of course, the NBA, everything's shaking up there with Kobe in the West getting hurt. Hopefully he's okay, because we need him desperately. We need Kobe. Lakers without Kobe is like Miami without LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. Kobe is the LeBron, the Wade, and the Bosh of LA. Kobe passes the ball. He can rebound the ball. He can smoke you with his points. And of course, Dwight Howard is playing significantly better in the second half of the season after the All-Star break. Kobe and Dwight have obviously gotten along quite a bit better second half of the season after the All-Star break. So no fear, Kobe and Dwight are here, and they should be all right in LA. Just hopefully Kobe is not hurt severely, and the Lakers will be okay. That wraps up today's broadcast. The Caleb Turner Talk Show, March 16, 2013. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. March 23rd, 2013, NCAA March Madness will have officially begun. We'll have all the coverage for you live right here, the Anchor Radio Network, on the Caleb Turner Talk Show. You got it, on the Anchor Radio Network.
You have been listening to a presentation of the Caleb Turner Talk Show on the Anchor Radio Network. Tune in every Saturday for a new Caleb Turner Talk Show on the Anchor Radio Network.